think you need to be more insane. I think you need to release and forego sanity. And that might not make that much sense until it's gonna make sense and then it'll make sense. But I think you need to relieve yourself of the confines of what we deem as sanity. I've been going back and forth with myself, trying to discern what it is that makes artists, but also in general a more successful person, whether that be a successful revolutionary, a successful artist, or a successful, I need to check to make sure I'm recording. We are recording. Whether that be a successful revolutionary, a successful artist, or a successful business person. Given the demographic of my audience so far, this is going to be a little bit of a weird thing for me to like throw out there. But I think it's probably important to speak more about this. And maybe all of these things kind of tie in together, all of the things that I've been thinking about. This is, of course, a video about me explaining to you why I think you should surrender your attachment to what people deem in the current society's focus, that is sanity. Part of this ties into the concept of hope that I've been researching. Hope in many aspects both requires the reduction of sanity, but then also uh, kind of removal from the current system's attachment to nihilism. But on the purest and most fundamental state, hope kind of requires you to live in some sort of realm of insanity. Outside of hope, the reason in which I found myself talking about reducing your attachment to sanity was, there was an interview. I think it was a Tyler interview, and it was somewhere. I'll put it up. But in this Tyler interview, he expresses something that a lot of artists have said over the years. And you will never not hear an artist that is deeply devoted to their craft speak in a way that kind of starts to make you question their sanity. But what is sanity? What is sanity, and how do we define what sanity is? We define sanity in the easiest way we can define sanity, in the shortest and quickest of terms. Maybe there is no definition of sanity, because the dictionary definition of sanity is trying something over and over again until and expecting a different outcome. Or maybe that's just the literary definition. The literary definition of sanity is trying something over and over again and hoping for a different outcome. The dictionary definition of sanity, though, is the ability to think. Hold on, actually, interesting. The dictionary definition of sanity is the ability to think and behave in a normal and rational manner, sound mental health. Now, some people may be watching this and wondering, what does this all mean? I would like to focus on the idea of normal and rational. What are normal and rational in our current society? Is it more rational and normal for you to believe in, for example, the idea that the current political system that we live in is doing its best efforts in order to aid you in your day to day life as a normal person? Or is it more normal and more rational to believe that the government doesn't always have your best interest in mind? Whatever side of that spectrum you may lie on, depending on your circulation of friends, the people you see on a constant basis, the people you interact with the most, sphere of influence that you have around you, is all going to dictate whether or not that claim that you stand on, whichever side of that totem pole you'd like to stand on, that decides your sanity level. That decides whether or not what you are thinking, whether you unabashedly believe that the government doesn't have your best interests at heart, and those around you also believe the same thing, or you unabashedly believe that the government doesn't have your best interests at heart, and those around you believe that the government is doing the best that they can at all times. Whichever person you are in that scenario determines your level of sanity. Listen, if you made it this far into the video, please like, comment, subscribe, and share the video. Have a discussion about it have discussion with the people in the comment section. I'm going to be the first person to comment because I do want to talk more about this. I think this is a very interesting concept. And as I continue to explore the confines of what sanity is, I think that more of us should explore the confines of what sanity is, or the sanity that we stand in. Back to the video. The reason in which I am saying that we should forego sanity, should release sanity, is twofold. By one aspect, I keep watching series, The Diary of a CEO, but more importantly, Behind the Diary. It's his weekly vlog where we follow him through the week of his life as a CEO. And there's one general topic about the video that they kind of circulate the story around. I'm sure they do all of this on the back end. But in one of the more recent videos of his that I've watched, I started to fixate on the concept of what was sane in his life. Takes the time to speak about how he doesn't believe in manifestation. He believes that the people who spend all of their time manifesting versus the people who are actually successful is widely varied. The people who spend all of their time trying to manifest seem to him, from his perspective, to not be the people who end up achieving the goals that they set out. But the people who do achieve the goals that they set out are the people who are just simply in motion. The thing about this is that as you continue to watch his videos, in a separate video or maybe the same video, he speaks about this moment in which he is like, I'm going to meet Mr. Beast today. Whatever I have to do is what I have to do. And then you hear his schedule. And even if you were to just purely focus on the idea that his initial statement is a form of manifestation, I am going to meet Mr. Beast today. That is an initial form of manifestation. But even if you were to focus outside of that, you start to look at his schedule. And as you go through each video, you start to realize that not only does he inadvertently believe in manifestation, he is also quite insane. And insane by the metric of normalcy. He is not in a metric of what people would consider normal. He's a multimillionaire that runs 7 businesses. It's quite deceiving to the natural eye to immediately believe that anybody can do this without surrendering their sanity, without becoming a deviation of what it is that is in front of him. Now, inside of this, at the same time, just before watching this video, I had come across another video by an Isamatu. She does a lot of revolutionary content in which she explains why she arrives at the thought process that she arrives at, and explains the studies behind it and the work that is necessary, but also is deep in her own praxis. And so exists in sort of a, for lack of better words, limbo space online, in which she uses it as the ecosystem that is necessary to help her push forward more of her praxis. Outside of that, she made this video. In said video, she talks about the reduction of sanity as she goes through her life as a sex worker. And so in this, you start to, if you're cognitively listening, there are a numerous amount of different things that she is saying. But one thing that she is saying, which made me realize that while watching Behind the CEO, that he did believe in manifestation, was the same reason that I found that she believed in manifestation. And the same reason that I found that people either believe in hope or they don't. And the same reason that I found that sometimes believing in hope makes you seem sort of insane and a deviation from the norm. She speaks about a specific interaction. When she was working in the club, she got to a certain point of her believing that, like, yeah, of course, someone should pay me $1,000 just to exist in front of me and talk to me and see my pretty face. Why would you not want to do that? Of course, I'm going to make this X amount of money tonight. Of course, this is going to happen, because why would that not happen? And In this experience, it helped develop her praxis. The reason it helped develop her praxis is because it allowed her to believe, hope, imagine something that would be outside of normalcy. It allowed her to become more insane. See, the reason I'm pushing you to release sanity is not because I'm telling you that you should be crazy and deranged person that is harmful to the rest of the world, but instead because I want us to move what sanity means to a different direction. And so if more people become this level of insane, this level of believing that, just as Isamatu speaks about in her video, that she has gotten to the point based off of her experience in the club as a sex worker, to the point where she is now fully independent of needing a job, and her existence is fully supported off of the environment around her. But that sounds insane. It sounds crazy to believe that you could exist purely off of the kindness of others, especially given the world that we live in today, but it exists. And I think, on a personal note, as a person who lives in Los Angeles and has experienced many different things, one of the few things that I've learned while living in Los Angeles is that anything is way more possible than you might believe. It's really easy to sit back and stop believing in something, but I have watched as people with no money, but a good enough following. And I don't mean like hundreds of thousands. I mean like maybe they had 10K. Maybe they had 4,000 followers, to emphasize the fact that this wasn't just something that it was like a popularity thing. I have witnessed people in LA find means of just existing without having to pay rent for a year, 2 years, 3 years. Ways of just coming up with work, coming into money without the wherewithal of thought and sanity to hold them back. And in their firmest places, they both believed in manifestation, but were also actionable about their manifestation. And this is also tied into my concept in the video that I have about hope, which is that I don't believe in just blatant hope that will arrive at you and things will come to you whenever you most need them. I think that you have to meet these things where they are. I think that if you are manifesting, you must reach your hand out in order to arrive at what manifestation can bring. I think that in order to reach hope, you have to work with hope. I believe that hope is in the trenches with you as you push through the worst circumstances in your life. I believe that you must forego the level of sanity that allows you to deny things such as hope and things such as a better possibility. And I think that overall, the system that we live in promotes the ideology that anything isn't possible, as much as that might sound contradictory to the American dream. Because when you look outside, depending on where you live, if you live in a major city, of course, but depending on your environment, you look outside and you look around and you see that people are struggling. Things are hard. Things seem impossible. And then if you have the eyes for it, you see that there is another side of the coin. There are people who are plainly just existing. They are people who show you that things are simply just possible. And I don't understand how it is, because I'm not one of these people that could just simply show you that things are just possible, that things can happen in an instant. But at the same time, I don't have the merit or the ability to deny that these things are possible. And not in like a pseudoscience or a religious sort of way, but more in like I'm a human experiencing other realities with people. I am watching like, with my own eyes as people do things that I was taught weren't possible, as people do things that I was shown to believe are inconceivable. And so, yeah, I think you should forego sanity. I think you should forego what it means to be sane in today's commonplace. And I think you should do it for hope. By the way, if you made it this deep into the video, like, subscribe, and comment. Let's talk about it. Let's discuss this as a whole.